Leilani, you want to introduce our guest for the second hour?
Absolutely. Well, today we have the pleasure of speaking with the mayoral candidate, Megeso Denis. And this guest, Megeso, has over 20 years of executive leadership experience with Fortune 500 company General Instrument Corporation, where he managed major operations, budgets, and teams across multiple industries. His background includes business strategy, leadership development, coaching, and community service. He's also worked as a mentor, youth sports coach, and counselor, bringing a lifetime of experience in leadership and helping other people to grow. Thank you, Megeso, very much for joining us and coming up into the jungle studio.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to be here.
I hope those directions were helpful.
Yes.
It was tricky getting in here, huh?
Well, the containers was a good guideline down there.
Right.
Yeah, there you go. That's our
Things
sadly.
have changed since the last time you were here.
Yeah,
Sadly,
quite a bit.
Yeah.
Sadly, that's our landmark now. Oh,
Right.
I know. I'm tempted to come out and put little signs out, really. Little arrows, you know.
And you weren't locked out. The gate was open for you?
The gate was open for me, but Megeso means eagle, so I would have flown over the top.
There you go.
Oh, it
I
means
would've made
eagle?
Pardon me?
Means eagle?
Eagle, yes.
Oh, interesting.
Thank you. And welcome, Megeso. I asked you if you had a website, so I want to just let our listeners know megesoformayor.com, and that's MEGESOFORMAYOR. Running for mayor. The first question we've asked our mayoral candidates is just an appreciation for your opponents. And now we got 5. Just share a little bit
There's
about
a total of 6, by the way.
other people for him to talk about.
Yes. Yes.
When we asked that question, we had Bernard and Mel in the room, and we're like, hey, share a little bit what you like about your opponent. I'll just, ask you, speak a little bit about your opponents and the things that you appreciate or the qualities that they bring, and then what you're going to add to, if you will, the
How
race.
you're different.
Yeah.
Well, regardless of the opponent, I appreciate anyone who steps into the arena and runs for political office. Obviously, my opponents, the 3 that I most know about, have been in politics since 2008, others in 2016. So, in relating to them, my style of management or approach to business is completely different. So my opponents, studying their history since 2012 when I arrived on the island, is more of a top-down approach where they put government first over people. And my business approach is people over government, because government needs people. People do not need government per se. So that's the biggest difference. Is I'm more of a people-oriented person. I believe in from the ground floor up. Growing up in New Hampshire, live free or die. I grew up with people would consider the tough side of the tracks, and worked my way up through the ranks all the way, as you mentioned earlier, to being the head of operations for a major Fortune 500 company in the business systems division. So I'm not a politician.
That's a plus.
So I don't approach things from a political standpoint.
Yeah.
And what I've seen, again, on this island is typically we keep electing the same people over and over again and expecting different results. And that's not, it hasn't worked. I just asked the people, has your quality of life improved in the last, since 2012, 14, 16, 18, all the way up to today? And so that's the big difference. I bring in a business background from mom and pop stores to small businesses to large businesses, and bringing people together, bringing the workforce together, because without strong employees, the ground floor up again, companies would fail. So it's important to take care of the frontline people, make for happy islands, happy government, and that's what I'm all about.
There we go. Well, thank you, Megeso, for sharing a little bit about your, if you will, your philosophy, your management style, and what you're going to bring to
I have to say,
office.
I'm enjoying the Bernie Sanders accent, okay? The New Hampshire accent is great.
I was going to ask, is New Hampshire the Granite State?
It is the Granite State, so I come from the Rock and learn my life lessons from the Rock. if you would.
Yeah,
And
back to the live free or die state. You know that's kind of a iconic American motto.
and to me, it parallels Kauai, because as we always hear, Kauai's never been conquered. So they kind of go hand in hand.
And what brought you to Kauai?
Well, when I left the corporate world, let's say, after many years, I came to Kauai to relax. I came with basically nothing in hand because I like to hike. I wanted to get to know the character of the island. I had only read about it. And obviously I was familiar with the sovereignty movement, so I wanted to learn a little bit more about that. And enjoy the beautiful sites that we have here, all the sacred sites, as well as the beauty of the island in general. And over the course of that time, in order to get to know people, because I am a grassroots type person, I went out and sat with the homeless people in the camps. I went down to meet the sovereignty groups and talk with them, talk with the local politicians, and met every faction of people on the island. Just basically walking the island for 3 years, just listening. Because to me, listening is more powerful than speaking. So that's why God gave us 2 ears and only one mouth. And so that's always been my philosophy. We can always have opinion. Before I could interject any knowledge of my experience, I had to know what the culture of the island was and what the hot buttons were, what people were concerned about. And to be honest with you, the same people, the same issues that I heard before, the people are still concerned about today.
Well, that leads to the next question. And why are you running for mayor? And what are your top 3 priorities for your first year?
Yeah, the top 3 priorities are cost of living, the economy, infrastructure, and housing. The reason that I'm running for mayor is because I kind of mentioned it earlier, is we keep electing the same people over and over again, expecting different results. And what I found over that time is that the government structure is really geared towards special interest, corporations, non-government organizations, and foreign influence. So they're putting institutions ahead of the people. And again, I believe in people-first governance, so I think the priorities are all wrong. And being that we still have the same problems that being mentioned to me that were mentioned in 2012, I think it's time for a change. I think it's time that we bring government back to the people. Because a lot of times when government has these meetings and they ask for input from the people,
Right.
That's a formality. That's checking a box because the people are basically ignored. What we need to do is when we have issues of conflict that need to be resolved, we don't need politicians sitting behind the desk in their ivory tower. We need the politicians out with the people. We need to be out at the neighborhood centers, in the community, to solve the problems with infrastructure at the neighborhood level. At the community level, not only at the island level. So I looked at the island's been in gridlock, that it's intentional to keep us in stress with the traffic that we have going, to keep us in debt, because most of our local population is moving off the island. They can't afford to live here. So the cost of living is way out of control. And that all comes from missed priorities and mismanagement. And that's what I say. When you're serving a globalist agenda or a special interest agenda, you're forgetting the people. And it's the people that make things happen. And when the people aren't happy, like I said, things don't move. So we're stagnated. And so I think the island is in crisis. And I think with my business experience and background, working together, building relationships with the people, as I did when I first came to the island, we can get back on track and start to have a higher quality of life. And it starts with the economy.
And can I ask you a little bit about that? Because obviously the economy is global in nature, and we're part of that. But we have some things at our locally that we can influence. How would, as mayor, how would you influence the economy, and which ways would you see our growth happen?
Yeah, there's many ways. First of all, we should be food independent. Okay, we receive 90% of our goods from outside the islands. We should be feeding the other islands. So it's not food sovereignty; it's food independence. The other thing is, it was really elevated and expanded during COVID. We lost 40% of our small businesses, and they've never recovered. So I believe in small business and small business expansion. So we need regulatory relief for the small business community. We need incentives and rewards programs that will help grow the small businesses.
And so in the mayor's office, how would that happen? What would be some of those incentives that you would, conceive? Or...
Well, regulatory relief is a big one. The permitting problem, streamlining that is big as well. Also, we need to supplement our education system. I believe in project-based learning systems and vocational learning systems. And those systems can feed our small businesses and other business needs that are on the island.
Feed them with workers?
With workers, yeah. So right now, people don't have opportunity. They're leaving the islands. When you look at traditional school systems, I mean, some people, individuals aren't good at math or science. But then you put them in a project-based learning system, say building houses, and they learn math from building a house.
Right.
They learn science from building a house. So it's beyond the traditional method of learning, audio-visual. There are kinetic people, there are expressive people. There's all different methods of learning, and the county can supplement that. We have a couple of vocational learning groups now on the island. We could expand that growth as well and bring in partnerships with businesses. Because not only with the project-based learning system in vocational schools, we can then offer internships, apprenticeship programs, stewardship programs, anything to build up the workforce so that people aren't leaving. Well, they need affordable housing. So the infrastructure with housing and jobs and the economy all go together. That's one thing.
Right.
It's not separate issues. I mean, in the sense it's separate, but it comes together as one. And we can only do that by building relationships with the people who are going to make it happen. So
I want to ask in similar thought in regards to food independence. How do we grow farmers? How do we make that activity, growing food, it doesn't have to be profitable, but it does have to make the ends meet.
Well, why are we importing foods that actually could be grown here? We should actually be...
Sure, but that's not really the mayor's job to say...
Well, we work with the business community where we should be exporting goods. And we should be promoting the businesses for Hawaii bought, sold, and created right here in the islands.
But, I mean, and I'm going to be the devil's advocate here. Are you going to suggest that because we have a strong mayor system here on Kauai, that the strong mayor would go down to Costco and say, hey, apples, no can?
Well, our farmers should be all the produce that's sold on the island, right? And Costco and the Safeway and those stores should be coming from the locally grown community. So farming, too, is a project-based learning system as well, okay, and a vocational system. So all these systems all need workers, okay?
Yeah.
And they all need to make a livable wage as well. So we feed, it's like a plant. It's like when you put a seed in the ground, the seed by itself is not going to grow. You have to add water. You have to add nutrients.
Right.
And you have to put some love into it. You
Tend
have to
to
care
that seed,
for it.
yeah.
And that's what's lacking here in the government and community relationship, is that cohesiveness and love of growing together. Right now, government tells us what to eat, basically, what to do. They're in every factions of our lives. We don't need them in every part of our lives. We have the talent here, the resources here. I mean, just look at the medicines. We have the natural medicines here. Okay? Nobody talks about that. You might need pharmaceuticals specialized on occasion, but really the natural medicines is the way to heal.
Could be homegrown.
Homegrown, exactly. And when you look, like, for example, where Cocoa Palms was, that's a natural medicine haven.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes,
Right.
All that Waialua area. Okay. So we're not taking advantage of the things that are here. And that, again, is because the focus has been on special interests. We have 938 nonprofits on the island of Kauai that are assets of $1.07 billion and
Wow.
$456 million in income.
Thank you for bringing that up, because really the nonprofits are what make things happen. Does all the heavy lifting on the island. That's a
More than
fact.
government.
Yeah, oh,
Right?
yes.
I mean, in many different ways,
Yes.
it outperforms government.
Yeah, in many ways.
So, again, when you look at what can the mayor do, I mean, just look at the flow. Look at the Waialua Bridge. How long have we been working on the Waialua Bridge? Okay.
How long have you lived here?
As long as I've been here, more. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I question what's really going on there, because growing up in a small town, but then working most of my life in New York City, we can put up a bridge in 6 months. Okay.
And we bring in people from Oahu to work
Right.
and from Maui
Right.
to work
Right.
every day on the
This
flights.
This is the other thing that's a problem, is whether it's housing or whatever, these bids that go out to contractors, we're not giving our local people a fair shake in that bidding process. Okay? And these bigger companies that come from outside are getting all these breaks. So when they install like the groundwork to set up for housing, putting in the water treatment systems and all of that, that cost is being passed on to the county and to the people. In the rest of the world, if you would, in other states, contractors pay that. Okay, so the system is defeating itself.
Yeah.
Right.
It's led by the procurement policy of the state and of the county, which says you have to advertise throughout the entire state, and then the big boys who can afford
Right.
get the contracts and get the lowest bids.
Here's a problem I ran into. I went to a water board meeting one night. That sounds bad, waterboarding.
Yeah, Department of Water meeting.
And in that meeting, I asked a couple of questions. I said, when somebody wins a bid, are they allowed to subcontract? And the answer is yes. And is the subcontractor allowed to subcontract? And the answer is yes. And it keeps going down the line to where you may have 8 levels of people
subcontractors.
involved. So who's accountable? Okay. As mayor, I only want to deal with one person. So if you get the contract, any issues that are slowing up the system, whatever, you're responsible. You're going to be held accountable. And that's what's missing. People talk about transparency and being open. That's the most misused word there is. Politicians say it all the time. I believe in accountability. So if I'm not doing something right, I want to be held accountable for it. Because as mayor, my priority is the people. So when you look at the whole structure of government, all the way to the White House, if you would, the primary job of the president is the health, safety, and welfare of the people, that everybody has access to life, liberty, and happiness and property. That's the same job as the governor. So the president can't do it all, so he's got 50 governors. That's the governor's main responsibility. The governor can't do it all, so he has mayors. That's the mayor's responsibility. So when I met with Mayor Kawakami years ago, we had this conversation. I said, that's your job, is to make sure that the people's rights are protected, that they have access to life, liberty, property, and the pursuit of happiness, and that their health, safety, and welfare is the priority. Special interests, NGOs, foreign influence, that's all in the back door. We actually don't need any of that. Like I said, we have the talent and the resources here. When you look at the island structure, going back to the Hawaiian kingdom, if you would, their days, we have 6 mokus. Well, moku is a district, right? And within that district, we have up to almost 70 ahupua'a systems. So if you look at the flower of life is 19 circles that come together, right? The 6 mokus are like the flower of life. So when you look at things like landfill or infrastructure, The landfill we know is reached capacity and more.
Right.
We've got about 1.5 million gallons of sewage going into the ocean. What's wrong with that picture?
Yeah.
And why is that contract good for 5 years?
Right.
Okay. Everything is centralized. So the bottleneck comes from a centralized system. When you look at the landfill, we could decentralize that. We could set up what the latest technology is, microsystems waste management. Okay? They're smaller systems that are based in community level. So if we just look at the 6 Boku design when the island was structured, we could have a decentralized waste management system in each Moku.
So that'd be like a transfer station in each Moku?
Each Moku, we would do, it would enhance the recycling process, if you would, but the community, it's within their own community.
Right, so there'd
within
be
that
more
Moku,
accountability.
There's less transportation. We
right.
don't have to
It
go
doesn't
to
have
the
to
west
go
side.
all the way over there.
We don't
Right.
have to deal with all of that. And those systems, short of the land, because the land is the most expensive thing on the island, which is another area to talk
Right.
about, are $500,000. 7 of those is $3.5 million. We just solved our landfill problem with a new system. So the solutions are easy,
Right.
and the technology is there. But what I see is the reluctance of our current government structure. Because they're more bent on, most politicians, when they get elected, the day after they're running for re-election. And it's evident with the politicians we have today. It's the same people. Nothing has changed. Bernard was mayor from 2008 to 2018, then went to council. Mel Raposo, 13 years as a police officer, then county council, special investigator, back to the council. Felicia Cowan since 2016, county council.
Right.
And we're still talking about the same issues. So problems are not being solved because they're beholden to their PAC money or donors or whatever. Whatever is tying up the system, it isn't addressing the people. And the people are tired of that. And that's what I found when I started going around the island in 2012, right up to today, is the people are fed up. They're tired of the promises and the promises. So when the mayor takes an oath is a promise. And so I'm going to live up to that promise and protect the people's rights primarily. So we go back to COVID and losing all our businesses and things like that. At the same time, the rights of the people were being infringed upon and usurped during that process. Okay? Government wasn't forthright with what was taking place. And a lot of people lost their jobs, their houses got foreclosed on, businesses went down, and it's never come back. And I see it as intentional.
For what purpose?
For power and control and greed. It's all about the money. Follow the money.
Well, that brings me to this question.
Okay,
This is
go
this
for
question
it.
number 3. In today's national and international climate, what does protecting democracy look like at the county level? And what commitments can you make around fair process, that word, transparency, and respectful public service?
That is a great question. I'm glad you asked that because it's such a misconception of democracy. Okay? First of all, we have to look at the United States government is not a democracy. It's a constitutional republic. And when you look at the monarchy, the Hawaiian kingdom, the monarchy was a constitutional republic as well. And a republic cares about the individual rights of everyone that lives here. Okay? A democracy, and the republic has democratic principles, but it's not the guiding principle. Okay, so when you look at the monarchy, they had their first article in their constitution was unalienable God-given rights. Well, that's what we have in the U.S. Constitution, unalienable God-given rights, and we have that in Hawaii State Constitution. Only they call them inherent rights. That means the people, when you look at rights in general, and to answer your question still with democracy, is we were born with retained rights. Retained rights did not come from government. Those are your God-given rights and your natural rights that came to you at birth, endowed by your creator of many names, whatever you believe and follow. The constitutions of the United States, the Hawaii State Constitution, and the monarchy all were designed to protect and defend the unalienable God-given rights of every person. Sometimes they call them inalienable. Sometimes they call them inherent. Sometimes they call them enumerated. Sometimes they're called fundamental. But the bottom line is their primary responsibility in a republic is to protect those rights. Because the ones that came from God, they can't take away, and you can't give them away. And that's the biggest thing that we're missing on the island in general. People are forfeiting their rights. Over what? You have part of your natural rights and retained rights is medical freedom, parental authority, right? Freedom of choice, freedom of movement, and all these things have been infringed and usurped upon for money, greed, power, and control. So we're not a democracy, but we do need a fair system of judgment. But right now, having looked at that system, and I educated myself on that system, is we have a lot of judges that are overreaching their positions on many issues. We have prosecutors who are prosecuting minor offenses that are enslaving people that aren't necessary. And I tested that system. So for your listeners, I decided to go into the system and find out what was really taking place. Okay? And when I did so, I got arrested on 2 occasions.
Was that here on Kauai?
Here on Kauai. I'd never been arrested in my life any place. Okay? So the first time was in front of Bubba's when 3 cruisers surrounded me and said, "You're in violation of a court order." I said, "On what?" "You missed a court date on a traffic violation."
Oh.
What?
You had some priors.
I had a traffic violation. So I said, okay. They brought me into the system, and the Hawaiian people that I've been talking to, the local boys that are always getting arrested and thrown in jail for frivolous reasons. I said, okay. I said, I'd like to make a phone call. And they said, okay, do you have someone's number memorized? I go, no. Then you can't make a phone call. I go, what? There's the fundamental right there. So I'm sitting in this holding center wondering, well, what am I going to do? I can't make a phone call. I said, well, what's the bail? They said, $100. I said, well, I'll pay that. They go, you can't. We don't allow people to bail themselves out. I go, what?
How do I bail out then? You got to go through court-ordered bails bondmen?
The court-ordered bails bond, whatever. So now I can't make a phone call. I can't bail myself out. So I'm in a predicament now, right?
Right.
So I've got to go into the institution, the correction facility. And this is what I found out when I was in that system. Well, I can't make a phone call. I can't bail myself out. Oh, wait a minute. Now when I'm being transported, I have chains on my hands, chains on my feet, and a chain from my feet to my hands on a traffic violation.
So you don't run away.
Right? This is the system that we're dealing with.
Yeah, right.
So now when you get into the system, because you can't make a phone call and you can't bail yourself out, you have to stay there until your court date comes up. So in my case, the court date was 30 days away. So I'm going to be in jail, incarcerated for 30 days, no
Costing
prior
money.
offenses. Right?
Right?
Losing work.
And now I'm asking questions of the prisoners, of the inmates. And I said, what are you in here for? Traffic violation, traffic violation. When's your case? In this case, I was in November, and it says, well, mine's next August. I go, you're going to be in prison 6 months because you can't bail yourself out and things like that? Correct. So that was, I call that, God put me in a position to learn more about what's taking place on this island. So that's one example right there. And I didn't spend the 30 days, thank God, because somebody came into the system that I knew who had somebody's name number memorized. And so I was able to call up and get out the next day.
It takes a village.
In a few days.
Note to self.
Right.
So
remember a number.
So I was warned in these conversations about this system. I said, you don't ever want to go into that system, Megeso.
Right.
But I was tasked to go in there, and that's what I found out. That is so wrong, that whole process right there. Okay? The second time I got arrested for not wearing a mask during COVID when I was by myself, well, not by myself, with 3 other peaceful protesters. So when you talk about democracy or due process, okay, first of all, my God-given rights were violated. And when the officer asked me why I wasn't wearing a mask, I said, I have freedom of choice, medical choice from my creator. He goes, we don't care about that. So right away, you violated my First Amendment constitutional rights, okay? But I'm a peaceful man, so I'm not violent. So again, going through that process of that. And when you get into that whole process during COVID, and you ask about our democracy and our opponents, the legislative department or the county council makes law. The mayor is the top cop, if you would, in the county. Well, you would think in that environment that those individuals would know that mandates are not law, okay? We're not out to hurt anybody, but we're peacefully protesting to say we have a difference of opinion. We've done some research that said things might be different, not as you say they are. So most of the county at that time was basing their decisions on presumptions, assumptions, and hearsay. Well, there's no facts there, okay? And so we were bringing alternatives. In the case of the COVID, we brought the Fauci dossier to Mel Raposo, the special investigator, said, would you look into this? Crickets, no, can't look into it. You're called the chief investigator. What does that mean, to investigate things that are wrong? That might be wrong, to protect the community. So right away, mandates are not law. Proclamations are not law. And your constitutional rights are never waived, even in the time of war or a perceived or a real pandemic, because they came from God again. You have that choice, okay? So the fear that came down from government, and some of our politicians went on the air live and were calling names of different factions or groups. I believe it doesn't matter. When it comes to the vaccine, you want to be vaccinated, that's okay. You don't, that's okay, because it's freedom of choice.
It should, right? I mean, it seems like that's one of the premises that we're working with.
Right. So everything is, that's the fundamental right there. So they would go online on talk shows and different things and talk about violations that people are committing. You're gonna kill the kapuna. You're gonna do this if you don't follow the law. You shouldn't be congregating, and all those things were debunked. There's no evidence that the masks were working, because you could wear any kind of mask.
Right.
You know, even the mayor went online and created a mask you could see through. I just go, come on, okay? Social distancing, come on. You're going into a restaurant, the virus knows that when your mask is on or off, or walk into the bathroom. All ludicrous things that had no basis of anything. Locking down when one of the cures was sunlight. But what another motivation for me in running for office was the most egregious offense that our politicians did was they didn't let people know there were therapeutic cures outside of the vaccine, the experimental vaccine. They debunked them all. So a lot of misinformation and disinformation was coming down from government. That did a disservice to the people, because some people could have survived an illness. Some people could have been prevented from debilitating injuries, and in some cases death. But again, it's personal choice. The biggest harm came is when they said, you can't visit the sick. You can't go to church. You can't meet in your groups at home, 10 or more people. And the politicians are all violating these actions. So the hypocrisy was just too much. But like I said, holding cures from the people, passing them off as fake science and things like that, when they didn't even follow the science to begin with. One of my educations was in biotechnology, so I have a certificate and a diploma in biotechnology manufacturing. So at least I have a basic concept of science and scientific method. As mayor and as county council people, politicians, department heads, it was our obligation and duty to inform the public of the positives and negatives of everything that was taking place and allow the people to make their own decisions. I saw people getting arrested, swimming in the ocean, playing their guitars by themselves. And they said, well, that's police state right there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when you're sitting in Hawaii, the healthiest thing was the sun, being out in the sun, vitamin D. Okay, so that's why, again, I was so motivated to say, wow, you're enslaving the people. And I walk by and I see the infrastructure. I see your, I call it enslavement camp right out here, those containers.
We've had a number of comments in
Okay.
regards to the concentration camp vibe.
That's exactly what it is. And to me, that's the housing they want
Which
to
is
put out
called
into the
workforce
public.
housing.
Right. So when you look at affordable housing, I look at the whole housing system in general. The current government lumps it all in one basket: the homeless, the houseless, and the elders. No, it's three different people. It's three different
Right.
situations. The homeless need to be put in a system where they can get dignity, they can learn a trade, they can get the help they need to beat their addictions or whatever illnesses they may have, and then get themselves back out where they're contributing members of the neighborhood, their family, their community. That's a separate structure, right? So you put them in an environment with a community kitchen because they got to learn relationships and how to interact with people in that environment. The second class and the third kind of go together, and that's the houseless and the kapuna, okay? So when I see houseless, I don't see containers. I don't see workforce housing that looks like a prison camp, okay? What I see is detached homes. I see 1, 2, and 3 bedroom homes that we can build less than the affordable price of $400,000. We can do that all under $100,000. Okay, your biggest thing is site cost. So when you have the houseless community, they also have family. They're working people. They just can't afford the rents. They can't afford to buy housing. They can't afford to buy their groceries in most cases.
The working poor.
Because they're living paycheck to paycheck, right? Running 2, 3 jobs in some cases, all what I call serving the master, the government, okay? No. We create houseless communities with Ohana cottages, with a little garden plot next to them so they can have food independence, they can have their houses, they can have their family or their kapuna right there with them. The kapuna themselves need to have their own housing so they can have dignity in their waning years. We just lump them into nursing homes or whatever. That's not the way to go. That's not what Ohana is all about. That's not what being Pono is all about. And it's our kuleana to make sure that we're taking care of the people, especially the locals, that the island that they were born and raised on, that they have to move off and go to Las Vegas and other cities just to survive, that they can't even be in their own homeland. And I bet you every one of them, if the cost of living was good here and the wages were good, the cost of living was good, they'd all move back because everybody wants to be in their home where they were born.
Well, you mentioned there are many crises going on, and one of the huge one, which I see as a pal and the work that I'm doing, is that housing is at the core. If you don't have a stable house, it's very hard to contribute. I mean, you don't have a kitchen, it's core for stability of any sort.
Yes.
And a person can't give back to the community in any way possible if they're struggling or don't know when they're going to be without a home.
Exactly.
Because of the rents and the prices and the greed of all the factors. So what practically could you do as mayor, what is your plan to make housing more attainable for local families, and what's the first move that you would make in year one?
Well, that's kind of what I was just alluding to with the housing. Now, the housing availability is people looking at, I look at the building they're putting in downtown Lihue right now. Workforce, I go, what a monstrosity that is. But I know what the plan is for that, and that's to make a smart city. That's the concept for that, to keep the workers close to the city and eliminate the traffic.
Right, and the
But
infrastructure is present there already, so
Right.
they're taking advantage of that.
So we would create the housing that I mentioned, because housing can be built either hempcrete, 3D printing, prefab, Lego type building that Renko offers, and some of that process the people could actually be contributing by building their own housing.
Right.
So when we looked at project-based learning again and vocational learning, there's a perfect example right there. Learn how to build a house, learn how to do wiring, learn this, whatever is going to feed the process within the island as businesses come in. They're going to
Right.
need a workforce that's already here and trained. We're not prepared for that. We do everything short term. I call it crisis management. And in my career in business, I served as a manager at the area level, the regional level, a regional director, and national level, with larger organizations going on each stage. And again, it goes back to the workers. You got to build a relationship with the people. The people aren't invested in getting themselves out of this because they're cut out of the system. Okay? We need to get them involved in the system, and that's why people are the government. Okay? Government can't survive without people. And what does the word government mean? Mind control. Govern is control, and meant is mind. So we're just walking like robots in a system that's in an endless loop. And the only way we can get out of that is by the people.
There we go. And you're listening to Megeso Denis William. He's running for mayor. He is asking for your support. You have a choice of 6 candidates. We've featured 4 already. Megeso, you're our 5th. We will have
one more next month.
Next month. I was going to say, what's his
Jesse
name?
Smith.
Jesse Smith. What you're speaking about is, I would say, kind of the classic libertarian alternative to the status quo, because, like you mentioned, we've got a current council chair running, we've got a current council member running, and a former mayor council member running, and then 3 relatively newcomers. One has some experience with local government. We interviewed Laura Ann Lindsay a couple months ago.
Right.
And now we've got a former CEO for a Fortune 500 company, manager running. I don't know Jesse's background, but you're definitely offering an alternative to the status quo. And I appreciate you just throwing your name into the hat, because that takes a fair amount of effort, commitment, resolve to do that and represent the people. Just to give our listeners another chance, Megeso for Mayor, one long word, .com. That's MEGESOFORMAYOR.com. I wanted to ask you in regards to working with the county council and with the community when there's a disagreement, when things don't get stuck. But before you answer that question, I wanted to let folks know that at 6 o'clock, Richard Fernandez and Sunset Jazz will be happening here on this station, and I'll let you know about that. But I also have a message I have to play right now about...
Hey, you thought that was one horse? No way, it was me. Holy moly. I'm one total Kanaka Hawaiian albatross. You know us, we stay master navigators. We can fly all over the North Pacific and still find our way home. Go drop me Seattle, Anchorage, Tokyo, wherever. I will fly back Kauai. Don't sweat. Mahalo plenty Kauai for a safe place for raise our keiki. This message from the Friends of Kauai Wildlife Refuges. Learn more at kauairefuges.org.
Funding for this message is provided by the Kauai Albatross Network.
Aloha, this is Derek Kawakami from Lihui, Kauai, and you're listening to KKCR, Kauai Community Radio.
Jazz, delicious hot, disgusting cold, but always cool with Richard.
There we go. We'll have Richard here with some cool jazz. Sunset Jazz at 6 o'clock. And we are wrapping up our Monday Mixed Plate radio show. We are the Permanently Affordable Living Hawaii radio show. I'm one of the Mouseketeers. your
Mouseketeer,
co-host,
you're a houseketeer.
Laura Christine, and Leilani Spencer asking questions.
Asking questions of a mayoral candidate.
Thanks so much.
So, back we are. I don't want to go on without talking a little bit about your take on tourism and how we manage it, which apparently is currently declining, has everybody all up at arms. What's your take on that? What's your strategy on managing visitor impacts so that the residents have a good quality of life, that the roads and the beaches aren't overwhelmed, but that those who do survive with tourism as an employment, how does that all get balanced?
Yeah, tourism, that's obviously our main economy. I'm a little disheartened to hear that Kauai is going to be closed until 2020.
Kauai and Polihali.
And Polihali to 2027. And that's one of the tourist attractions, is to be up and camping at Kauai. So...
And local people really love those places,
local
too.
people, too.
And if you can't go there, then it forces you somewhere else.
Yes.
That's right. And what happened to the people that just bought the cabins up there?
Right.
They can't go home. So, yeah, all these, again, it almost looks intentional to me because I see what's going on when you say tourism, but we're forgetting one other thing. There's 600 homes that are slated to be built off by the middle school in the back. That's in someone's plan right now. So that's off Olahana Road, right by the bypass, in that area.
Hokua, he's referring to.
We got 400 going down in Koloa, 300 in Kilauea, and again, that's more impact on the infrastructure and where these people, and are people going to afford to live there? Are they going to come from the outside? So the flow is what's the problem on the island when it comes to tourism. And it's tough to manage the flow in the sense that when you have tour guides that are bringing the people to the sites, they're leaving right at peak hour traffic time. So the biggest bottleneck we have is 7 to 9 in the morning and 4 to 6 in the afternoon, primarily going from Kapa'a to Lihue and back, and Lihue to the south side and back. That's our biggest bottleneck. They were able to handle it somewhat good in up at the end of the road by saying the parking there, for example.
Okay.
Yeah, with allowing the locals not to pay for parking, but we should be charging the tourists for parking. But how do you manage that flow? It's almost like you need two separate areas for the locals to come in and park and the tourists. And you can't restrict times. The biggest thing is car rentals. But people want to be independent when they are on the island as well. We don't have the infrastructure to widen the roads from the airport to here. You can make a half a lane a certain distance, but you run into the bridge again. So this again stems from management dating way back to Governor Abercrombie when he put the island up for sale. Anybody want to buy a piece of paradise? And that's when things start to go downhill. So from tourism, we have to manage flow. So you have traffic lights. You have the cone system we use right now. I'm thinking that on the short term, we may have to add traffic directors, if you would, to keep the traffic moving, because sometimes the traffic lights are not in sync. We need an alternative road, even for emergency relief, if you would. We're trapped if we ever had a real disaster, because you got to get up 300 feet. So we got to work with the hospitality industry to see if they'll add more shuttle services and convince the tourists that that's a better way to go to get them to things. Some of our businesses use their own shuttle services. If we had the area, maybe we do, that we create commuter parking areas and shuttle people to work. To alleviate some of the traffic flow. And so it's a matter of managing tourist time and work time, if you would. And you never want to, sometimes we even close the beaches because beaches get overused.
Right.
And we got to recycle beaches. Now with the lots of Kauai and Polihali, that's going to create a bigger problem. And this is why, again, we can't be so dependent on the outside. We got to have something else besides tourism to supplement what's happening here. And this is, again, expanding small business, exporting goods, building and sending out. In the earlier days, the islands traded amongst themselves, okay, for goods. Because, again, we have everything we need here. We don't need outside help. Okay, we should be exporting. So, in the islands, and we shouldn't be having our goods made in China and brought back to the islands and be sold as island products. We need to build our products here. Maybe we need working vacations for tourists that they come here and learn the culture, right?
There is that.
A lot of
aspect
nonprofits
tourism.
are
Oh,
looking at that
absolutely.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of veered away from the question that you had posed earlier about county council, because there's that.
There is that, working with the council.
Yeah.
But we also are coming to the end of the
Yes,
show,
we are.
and we want to
I
give
could
you
answer that briefly.
All right, please be
because-
brief with that, and then end on the show with a message of hope for, if
absolutely.
you will, our listeners and
Okay, good.
future
So
voters.
there's always going to be disagreements between the council and the mayor and people. But we have to remember the focus is the people. Whatever we're having disagreements on, does it benefit the people? And how does it impact the people? And if we can't resolve that issue, we go out to the people. And we have town halls, we have meetings and discuss it there. Because the bottom line is anything we do moving forward under my administration is people first, government second. As far as your message of hope, I'm one that believes in faith, because hope is you're relying on someone else to solve the problem or to assist you in the problem. I have faith in the people of Kauai. I have faith in the local people that are here and all the residents of this island, that we can move forward together, taking government back away from the special interest groups, away from the non-governmental organizations and foreign influence, and becoming the island that we are. Remember, Kauai has never been conquered, and it's not going to be conquered now, because we, the people, working together as one, will help walk us into the golden age where we're living in prosperity. We have housing. We have a quality of life that has been taken away from us, and it's time we live in our own authority and take that great song and take that life back, because people need to be in their own authority. AU is gold, and in our authority we walk forward together, build relationships with other people, build up the island, and we're home free. I think nothing but positive things in the future.
Great message of hope. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us in the studio.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Okay, cool.
Could you just imagine if they were around and saw highways on the sacred grounds? How would they feel about this modern city life? Tears would come from each other's eyes, and they would start to